So for this episode of Shift Happens Catalyst Conversations, I'm once again connected to somebody or across the ocean on the other side of the world, but somebody who I really know from real life and somebody from my own community. I've been saying this to many, many people that I'm so blessed and grateful for the community that I have around myself. And when I started this podcast, I was making a list of people that I know in my network that could be on my podcast. And yeah, Corey was also one of them. And now I finally got to this point where I can actually connect to him and talk about health, fitness, transforming your life, and really being this awesome version of you. But at the same time, also not forgetting about living your life and having, the career, the family, and all the other responsibilities and things that we want to have in life. So, welcome, Corey. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to you, Silja.
This podcast is about shifts and transformations. And very often people just need some kind of negative kind of catalyst to start changing their life, to start becoming healthy and actually start focusing on the health in the first place. What has it been for
Mhm.
you? Have you always been this focused on your health and wellness, or did you have some kind of shift and pivot in your life that made you do this?
Yeah, I pretty much have always been athletic and playing sports and started working out at a pretty young age and learning about it since then. So I wouldn't say there's been a big shift into being fit and healthy, but I think that throughout my life, there have been shifts to where, like when I was a teenager and teenage boy growing, you always have to take pride at how much I can eat at a sitting. And it's like, look, I ate this much. And then there was like a shift when I was in my early 20s, is thinking like, okay, I'm full grown. If I keep this up, it's going to be really hard to stay lean and fit. And there's
Mm.
no purpose behind. There's no real macho thing about how much you can eat. It's like, okay, so let's start getting a little smarter about my diet and things like that. And of course, I always try to eat healthy up to that point in terms of paying attention to, whole foods versus processed stuff a little bit here and there, and knowing that desserts are not very healthy and things like that. But I didn't really study diet and stuff early. And so there was a shift to say, okay, as I learn more and more, how can I help my body that much more and help my performance and help, you know, my future health by shifting into a healthier diet along with joining that with my fitness activities to get the most out of everything. Yeah.
So, growing up in the US, right?
Yeah.
How easy was it to really find these whole foods, or were you also like tempted to have these processed foods? Because the stories that we hear about America, it is like, okay, all the processed foods and the portions are bigger and people are heavier. Is it true?
That's interesting. I mean, I've not lived outside the United States, except for I have traveled around the world, and you do have different cultures around food. However, I think the Western idea of available foods has spread from the United States across most Western civilization. And so you can get all these processed foods just about anywhere too. But I think that there is a tendency for people to find it more normal to eat less healthy in the United States. And so those who are more focused on whole foods or more focused on eating healthy are the weird ones, the outliers. And so, and you hear people, I've had people like complain about, you know, when they like try to have a kid eat healthy or you should have to eat this or, oh, just let them eat normally. It's like, that's not normal for a kid to eat healthy or, it's one of those things where, yeah, people have, and our bodies are amazing the way that we can process so many different things and process through impurities and adapt, especially if we exercise well, then we could probably eat more sugars and processed foods. And the negative effects would be minimal because our bodies are amazing. We are very adaptable because there's always these outliers. You see that these people live to be 90 plus or 100 and they're relatively happy, relatively healthy, and they ate that, sort of a crappy diet throughout their whole life or what we
Yeah,
would
and
define.
smoke the whole life and, and drink
Yeah.
alcohol and yeah.
Yep. And it's like, okay, so our bodies are amazing. They are capable of handling a lot of this stuff, but I always want to err on the side of things I know are healthier, things I know are better for me, not building up a lot of impurities, not stressing my metabolic system with these highly processed foods that just zip into sugars in your system too quickly. So, yeah, it's difficult in the culture here, bigger portions. things like that. But it's like anywhere, you have to be conscious of what you're doing. And there's plenty available unless you're in what we call the food desert in some like poorer areas of major cities and things like that, where they don't have good grocery stores and things like that. They have, convenience stores with just processed stuff. You could eat healthy just about anywhere, but you have to be conscious of it. Yeah.
Mm. But how conscious are people? Do they really want to cook in the US? Or maybe that's also like a myth that US people like to buy all these ready-made meals that you just heat up in the microwave and they don't really even know how to boil an egg, for example. Or what's
Well,
the actual
there is
situation?
there's a fast pace and convenience space. The convenience is there's a high value placed on convenience, I believe. And I'm guilty of that. I've part of what I try to teach my clients is because I focus on people who are busy, right? Who don't think they don't have time to fit fitness or healthy eating into their life. And so there are tricks and hints that you can do to, I don't love cooking myself. I can cook. I'm decent at cooking, but it's just all the preparation and the cleanup and having a busy life. I don't want to spend all my time doing that. And so I find alternatives that are healthy. There's always a trade-off because the best way to eat, the most healthy way to eat is whole foods, cooked fresh at home and made with love and everything else to bring that energy into everything. But that is not realistic for somebody to do at every meal, right? And so there are ways to get around it. And sometimes a frozen meal, they're making that's one thing that there's a trend and there's a draw for people to be healthy yet be convenient. And so there's organic, ready-made healthy meals that are frozen meals that are quick to prepare. There are some of these, protein bars and things like that. There's sort of supplemental diet stuff. If you pick the right ones, have really good nutritional value for people. And some are made with whole foods as well that, that are turned around and making a smoothie at home. There's different ways that you can get healthy things and still be convenient and fast. However, the appetite for that is again, a percentage of people who are conscious about what they're eating and really want to stick to something as a healthy diet. It's not real high. So yeah, the convenience wins over. And most of the convenient foods, as you pointed out, are highly processed or there's not a real high nutritional value to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you really have to want to have this good whole foods in your life. And actually, I did like an experiment a few years ago, and this was about meal prep. And it was back when I was talking about meal prep all the time and teaching people how to do meal preps. So I did this experiment. So for 1 week, I didn't prepare anything. So usually
Mhm.
before that, I was prepping stuff, on Sunday evening to be ready for the week. But 1 week, I just did zero prep. And then I was measuring how much time it takes for me to cook everything from scratch every single day, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, some snacks. And I guess the
Mhm.
total time for like 5 days, like 5 work days, that was 6 hours total, which is okay, not that much, but still. Then I did the
Yeah.
opposite. And I prepped everything, like three main meals and a few snacks. I prepped everything on Sunday evening, and this took me like 2 hours. So two
Yeah.
hours versus 6 hours. And you were like saving 4 hours every week, which is like 200 hours per year. That's more
Yeah.
like full month of working.
Well, and that is, you say that many hours per week dedicated to something else could be very valuable. Oh, and
Yeah,
that's
four
where
hours per week, you win, and then you can just go and train.
you're working out like all your fitness within that time.
Yeah, and
So that's
we both also know the 10x fit test that you can do like twice a week, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and it's very fast.
yeah,
So if you have
yeah,
4 hours, this is like a luxury already. If you have 4 hours
yes,
to spare and
yes,
just spend on your own body. And I would say
yeah,
that it wasn't only about the time. For me, when I was not prepping anything, it was more like this mental stress and mental exhaustion because I had to decide
yeah,
every day,
yeah,
okay, what am I going to cook today? Like, this was taking so much energy. Like already in the
mhm,
morning, I just wanted to like go on with my day, but I was like, okay, now I had to decide what I want to have for lunch and everything. And
mhm,
this was
mhm,
taking so much out of me. But if I had
yeah,
everything prepped, you just grab the box and the lunch box and then you just eat it.
right, yeah, for sure, yeah, having that. And there's a lot of areas in life where you have, if you have something ready to go and you don't have that decision to make, That's why preparing for 'em every morning is always good that way too, in terms of like, what am I going to do in the morning? And if you're going to exercise, have those clothes ready to go right out
Mhm.
of the bed. So it's not like, oh, another step, and it becomes when you're tired or when you're stressed, adding another decision does add stress to your life for
Yeah, that's
sure.
a
Yeah.
decision fatigue as well. And already if you prepare stuff for yourself in the evening, it's so easy to get into the flow in the morning. Because I would also say that the time is flowing in a different way in the evenings and the mornings. In the evenings, it's
Mhm.
kind of like, I don't know. It feels like you have time, and very often people don't go to bed because they feel like they have all this time in the world to do everything. And when morning hits, it's like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I have to run. I can't even eat. I don't have time for breakfast. I have to run to work. Like, do, do, do. So even if it's like 1 hour in the evening, 1 hour in the morning, I would say that time has a different essence
Yes.
in
No,
the
I
way.
agree.
Yeah. Have you also noticed this in your life?
I have. And it's interesting because, yeah, you don't feel busy anymore in the evening because I guess the demands of the day are gone. Nobody's expecting anything out of you for the evening. So everything that's like scheduled is during the daytime. So you have to get everything ready for those scheduled things. And so you pile everything in front of them. And then it's finally like all that scheduled stuff is done. I can
Mhm.
relax for the evening, even though if you kept a steadier pace of preparing, you could prepare more for the next day, have less stress, but it takes some discipline and some planning. But again, but when you have that relief and let down at the end of the day, I find that it's a whole different topic, perhaps, but that the time in the evening is so precious and such a release from the rest of the stress of the day that I end up falling. That's my weakest point in terms of
Mhm.
when I have the snack cravings and things like that. Just like, oh, I'm finally indulging in, and taking care of myself. And so I have a tendency to indulge more in that time period. And I end up staying up later than I should because that is my relax and self-care time, and it feels good and it's comfortable. And it's like, oh, I don't have to tomorrow morning's going to be stressful. I don't want to have to go to bed right now to then face that. So you end up prolonging this time, and then it's harder in the morning because you
Yeah.
feel yeah.
Because then you stop building a morning actually in the evening. And all the people, very often when I hear from people that, oh yeah, I wake up 5 a.m., I'm in the 5 a.m. club and doing the morning stuff, I always want to ask, okay, when do you go to bed?
Exactly.
Because I
Yeah.
feel that very often they just dismiss this part that actually, if you want to have this 5 a.m. productivity and do
Yeah.
all the crazy stuff so early, it also starts in the evening. It's not about,
Yes.
oh yeah, I go to bed at midnight, then wake up at 5, like sleep deprived, all that. But it's, yeah, I feel that we should also talk more about evenings when we talk about
Yeah.
waking up early as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a balance to be struck for sure. And
Yeah.
sort better at getting to bed early and doing that early morning stuff. That is not my general pattern, but it's good for some people.
Yeah, we all have different chronotypes. I am this early bird chronotype based on a test by the sleep doctor. But most people they're like somewhere in the middle. They are more like waking up at 7, 8 a.m., maybe going to bed around 11 midnight. So 55,
Yeah.
60% of people they are actually in that chronotype. And I'm
Yeah.
this early, more like early riser kind of person, but it's not everybody. I mean, we can't actually force upon everybody that everybody has to wake up early or do that kind of stuff. I feel it's
Correct.
also about knowing what works best for you and what's like the most optimal
Mhm.
way to function for your body and mind and
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah. And that applies across so many categories, like what exercise works best for you.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
That background decision, sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, the bioindividuality is important across many aspects of life, right? And whether it be for your sleep patterns or the diet that works best for your body, or even the workout types and things like that, that what your body responds to is all reflective individually. And so it really does take some discovering for people because it's not something that's like, oh, I've got this blood type and this color hair, and then this is the formula for me. Because a lot of people have tried to do that. I see a lot of sort of promotional kind of things that there's not good science behind it, yet they report to have that kind of possibility that they can just define your best strategy for things. That I don't believe that's true. I think people really need
Yeah.
to kind of have a discovery, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I even see like some kind of crazy apps. They're like, oh, AI can measure your body like composition, your fat percentage just by scanning your like with a mobile phone. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
There's some
I
crazy
think
stuff
so.
out there.
I mean, technology is getting better and better. It's surprising how much, my Fitbit watch can tell about my body functioning. It is interesting, but yeah, a lot of it is they're just marketing that doesn't have a lot of science behind it too.
So what's the craziest thing you've seen recently, maybe? Something, some kind of crazy promise. Can you remember
We're
something?
excited guys, like when somebody says that, even like the thing like every ad said, okay, here's how a man from 50 to 55 should fast in this schedule versus a man that's 40 to, it's like they have these pictures of these guys and it's just like there is no science behind this whatsoever. And I know because I do the research and I'm involved in, I'm not the one who does the research, but I follow the research and I know what they do and don't know right now about what fasting does for your body and what doesn't and things like that. And these people who claim to have these formulas, it's just like, where are you getting this? And, there's no pushback again. I don't know. It seems like you could claim anything and people do that. And it grinds me a little bit because it's like, okay, I don't want to market myself that way. I want to market myself as in an honest way as possible. And so I don't have these grand claims to like, oh, if you just tell me this, I can give you this, this, and this, and it'll happen, lose this much weight in 2 months and keep it off. And it's just like all those claims are just ridiculous because it doesn't, they're based on, some best case study that, yeah, or if anything at all, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that people are coming up with these claims because they sound attractive. It's like shortcuts, and
Right.
you don't really have to do anything. You only have to tell me your eye color, and then you get this
Yeah.
magic pill that works for you.
Yeah.
And people
Yeah.
want to have it. People want to believe in magic in a way.
Oh, yeah. 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 Not that there isn't some magic in the world, but I think that it happens in a much different way. And again, we're all individuals and what works for each of us won't necessarily work for the next person. And we're all individuals in a way that what our potential is. I mean, I'm not going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't have the bone structure. I don't have the type to really build that much size on me. Of course, if I went with all the enhancement drugs, then it would help a bit, but I'm never going to be a huge guy. And that's fine for me. I'm going to be who I'm going to be. I want to be the best version of me. And that's really what I try to help people focus on, be the best version of you and not look at somebody else and compare yourself to somebody else because you're not them. You'll never be that person. It's like like an oak tree trying to compare itself to an apple tree. They're never, they're made two different ways. You're never going to be a completely different person. Be the best you can be.
So your approach is quite individual and focusing on a specific person in front of you. You work with people.
I do, and especially I like to do that with my one-on-one clients. And I do have group programs too, where just generally tell people to experiment on yourself and find what works for you. Find, you know, again, just like everything else, they try to have one size fits all, even a formula to say, here's how many calories you burn in a day. Well, that just takes into account, four factors, your sex, your weight, your height, whatever it is. This is how many calories you burn in a day, but that's not there's 15 plus factors that go into how many calories you burn in a day. And you can never, you won't fit in that formula anywhere. You might be near it, but you got to figure that out for yourself. And so you always have to experiment what's working for your body. And then becomes a project. To me, it's like you and yourself have to become a project and sort of figure things out along the way, and enjoying the journey is the challenge. And that's what I try to instill in people. It's like, this is something that's going to be ongoing. Just keep working on it, keep figuring it out. You get better and better and better at it as you go on.
That's actually interesting. You as a project. And in fact, my own fitness coach, he also calls it like Project Silja. So when he's working with me, he sends me all these PDFs with new exercise plans every month and some nutrition stuff. And the file names are always like Project Silja. So I'm also like a project for myself and also for him. And I
Yeah.
really agree with that because we are our own biggest projects. We are our own biggest researches and studies. And I would also say
Yeah.
that for me personally, this is super exciting. It's like get to know myself better,
Yeah.
physical, spiritual, emotional, in every way. And whenever I
Right.
find like a new framework, so nowadays I'm very obsessed with human design. If I find a new
Mm,
framework, I just want to know, okay, what am I in this framework? Not to
yes.
just follow it blindly, but kind of take something out of it and
Mhm.
make it mine in a way.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. And again, like you said, it's got to be integrated into mind, body, spirit, all the ways that you want you to be your project and to reach your highest potential in all these ways. It is figuring it out, learning along the way, learning yourself, learning other modalities, learning frameworks and where you fit, what works for you. Cause there's all kinds of ways to approach these things. And even with fitness, and you and I have studied the same program and I've worked out in a similar way even before I studied that program. And that's the 10X highly efficient program. And there's a lot of ways to be in shape. That is an extremely efficient way to get, the most bang for your bucks is get like 80 to 90% of the results in like 10 to 20% of the time. And that's really how I try to market for my clients. But that's not the only way to be in shape. These people who spend hours in the gym, yeah, they can be in shape too. Yeah, their efficiency might not be there, but they're getting other things out of that extra time in the gym. So there's always give and take and things to feel. There's a lot of ways to approach it. You can do all these peripheral exercises and you'll end up hitting all your muscles. But if you want to do these, functional multi joint exercises, you might be more efficient for most people's goals. And that's in there. And so I never say, "Oh, don't do CrossFit because it's this or that. It's not the best way to do it." No, it works for a lot of people. A lot of people love it. Sometimes it's a motivational thing. Be in a class, go for it. That works for you. Do it. That kind of thing.
Mhm. So, body, mind, and spirit, these are the things that you work on when you work with your clients. Where do you start? Do you always start, for example, with the body, or is it different for every person that you work with?
I do kind of customize it with every person that I work with, but I have sort of a formula and a program that I have designed, and I've been shifting it to get more and more into the mental and emotional focused because I know people want actionable stuff right away. People who want to, especially people who want to work on their bodies, like, okay, what do I need to do? Give me a workout. Give me the diet I need to do. Let me, make that happen. It's like, okay, but if I give you that right now, you're going to it's not going to be intrinsic to who you are. You might do it for a little while, but you're not going to get consistent at it and it's going to fall away. And it's hard to strike that balance. I really want to get people considering that identity change, that integration of their goals for the body with their goals for their life and how they want their life to look 5, 10 years down the line. And how does fitness, fit into that? How your diet fit into that? And how do you picture your day to day and how can this fit into that? And finding those sustainable practices, those things that really fit into a person's identity and who they are so that, working out and eating healthy is not an aberration. It's not a different way of life for them. And it becomes, I love my body enough that I'm going to take care of it. It's just an automatic thing. I love what this is, what it does, what it can be. And I want to enjoy this life for as long and as fully as I can, get more life out of life and more experience. Then I need a healthy body to do that with. And if I love life, I love what my body can do, then I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to, and even if you don't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's not about perfection. It is about having that relationship and knowing that taking care of your body and that being part of who you are and who you want to become is really what I like to focus on. So yeah, getting back to your question, I really more and more focusing on body relationship and relationship to who you want to be and connecting with your goals a lot.
So it's a lot about the mindset and also like having specific kind of identity. So for instance, I identify a lot as an athlete. So I'm making many decisions based on this. I value my sleep over everything, anything over like staying out late. I value
Mm-hmm.
my food, training. So I'm kind of building my life around being an athlete. So when you
Hmm.
have specific kind of identity, you also make decisions based on this. And I feel that it's easier to keep up a specific lifestyle if it's part of your identity, not just something that you're like forcing upon yourself.
Exactly, exactly. And most people do not identify as an athlete or they don't have these specific athletic goals, but they want to be healthy and they want to have a fit body. And so you have to find a way to integrate that identity into them. And I find that I really like to work with people who are open-minded and already have that growth mindset to where they're elevating, they're discovering more about their mind and their body and their emotions and mind and spirit and emotions. And they're trying to discover and elevate themselves in that way. But so many, who are in that field, and we know a lot of common people that are that way, but they're not all into keeping their body in that way. And then how do we integrate that? How do I, make that as part of their identity as a growth minded individual who wants to better themselves in many ways? Keep your body is part of that. Your body is this vehicle we get to live our lives in it, and our spirit inhabits this body. If you want to look at it in that way, our body is infused with our life force. And this is our experiential tool. This is what we get to ride this life on. And why not take good care of it and get the most out of it? Right.
Yeah, I feel that if somebody wants to be really successful and has this strong growth mindset, they would also take care of their body. Like, some kind of CEO, they, okay, they still
Mhm.
have all the money, but they don't have the health to enjoy the money and all the things
Yeah.
that money can open up for them. They can't really be
Right.
happy with all the piles of money and the businesses that they have. So
Yeah.
I guess somebody who's growth minded, successful, and they're like, okay, I'm a successful person. It's like, okay, I'm successful not only in my business, but also when it comes to my body, for example.
Yes. Exactly. And the other side of that is not only the potential to fully enjoy and experience life and having the most out of life by them, the healthiest body possible, but it's not being sick. Because as soon as you have a real health issue, that's your entire focus in your body. You can't enjoy the rest of life if you have a serious health issue. And in living that healthy, vibrant life is the best way to avoid health. There's no guarantees, obviously, but it's a lot less likely that you're going to have major health issues if you're really taking care of your body.
Yeah. So my father was diagnosed with kidney failure when he was 40 and he died at 46. So, the last
Right.
year's complete disaster.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was already like a while ago, but I could see how his spark was just leaving. Of course, before that, he also had like overweight issues. He had
Mhm.
diabetes. So kidney failure
Yeah.
was kind of like one of the many things that happened. But after this diagnosis, he couldn't work anymore. So everything started going really downhill. And of
Um,
course, when he was 40, I was like, I don't know, 17. So I
yeah.
didn't understand that. I didn't know how to help him. And he died when I was like 23. So yeah, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help. Maybe
Yeah.
right now I would be wiser and not just, talk about nutrition, but also kind of, okay, tap into the mindset, identity. Okay, do you want to see your
Yeah.
grandchildren, for example?
More. Yeah.
Ask him that. So he has never seen his grandchildren. My sister has
Right.
two daughters, and he has never seen them because
Yeah.
he died like so young, like 46. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. No, but it's a challenge though. You can't be responsible for other people's, yeah, growth and where they want to be. People not generally receptive to somebody else teaching them or telling them, oh, you have a health issue. Here's how you change your whole lifestyle. Some people are, some people, but they have to seek it out themselves. I have my own family members with health issues, and that I lost my stepfather a few years back, and my mother's having health issues as well. Changing their lifestyle is it's not been, it's something that I made an effort to and tried to teach them of as I've been fully adult, and I've already learned a lot and could help them a lot. But it's one of those things where people, the way they live their lives and how they identify, it's a huge thing. And it's a huge barrier to changing your lifestyle if you're not willing to really embrace that growth mindset, that willingness to change.
Yeah, I feel it's also about how you approach them. If you go with, okay, this is like a new healthy eating plan for you, they're like, nope. But if you actually tap into some kind of core motivation, core reason, like, okay, do you want to see your grandchildren or
Exactly.
something that's
Yeah.
deeper that has more meaning for them? So maybe,
Mhm.
it's not so exciting to just eat healthy, but it might be exciting to see grandchildren growing up, for example.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the things that will motivate people is that's what you got to keep people focused on what it's going to do for them. What is the outcome? What is the change? How is that change going to feel? And because people are driven by their emotions more than anything, obviously. And so when you can make that emotional connection to what your life experience will be like if the results of these changes are as you plan they are. So if you do these things, if you get more active, if you eat, a little bit more mindfully, then these can be the outcomes. And if you connect those outcomes to an emotional state, and connect those outcomes to an enjoyment of life in a specific way, then I think that that's really helpful in helping people get that motivational shift.
So the people who come to you, they had this growth mindset. What are some of the other characteristics that they have in common? What kind of people do you attract, or what kind of people do you even want to work with, for example?
Yeah. There's a lot of people who approach me who just I want to lose that 20 pounds before I go on vacation because they see that I'm fit and they see that I'm a fitness coach. And so their mindset is, oh, personal trainer. And they can get me in shape before my vacation. And too many people look at their health journey that way. It is just like, I just want to get leaner and I just want to look good for and it's always this sort of short-term mindset that they're thinking of. Yes, they want to be healthy for the long term, but they don't really equate that to their lifestyle as much as these little bursts of, I'm going to lose weight for this. I want to do this. I want to, and so I don't, that's not my preference with working with people. And the other side of people who I get to know me more understand that I have this holistic approach. And even those people that I talk to and I say, okay, here's my approach. And I want to integrate these things into your life. I want to integrate your mindset change and your identity shift into your relationship body that is going to keep that motivation going. It's going to be sustainable practices for your life, something that you will grow in mind, body, and spirit with these practices. And so a lot of people that is attractive to, but people who are more, uh, uh, I would say, um, surface motivated or less lasting motivations, I don't really want to work with them as much because I don't think that I'm more interested in having a deeper impact on people. I'm more interested in having helping a person integrate their body into this growth mindset that they already have. So most people that I think I do attract and the people that I like to work with are those people that are growth minded. They may have been healthier physically in the past, but then now their uh, adult life happens. You get professional careers, you get kids, you get all this stuff happens where your priorities go into helping others or building your wealth or building, your family life and things like that. But your self-care kind of goes away. And then these people sort of realize that, they're elevating their professional life, they're elevating their mind, and then they realize that their spiritual and energetic life are intermingled with that. But still their body is like, oh, I forgot that my body's kind of going downhill here. I'm not liking this. And people start to recognize that. And they get into maybe late 30s and early 40s, and their body's really sort of, oh, it's really noticeable now. I used to be able to ignore it a little bit and I still had a decent shape, but it will end up declining on people. It's one of those things where it's not just the shape. And that's the thing that people notice. They notice their body. There's nothing wrong with wanting good aesthetic body and how it looks, but the health goes hand in hand with that for most people. Obviously, at the extremes, if you're an extreme athlete, you're doing things that aren't just about your health. You're doing things just for your physique. But when you're just trying to be healthy, your physique's going to come along for the ride and vice versa. If you just want a decent physique, you're going to those practices really go hand in hand. And so those people that I notice that my arms are a little more flabby now and my butt doesn't fill my jeans out the way it used to. It's dropped a little bit or there, this and that, or I've got a little bit of belly going on. That's the stuff that they notice. They don't like it, but they kind of ignore it because it's like, oh, but I've got all this other stuff going on. I'm growing here and I've got this goal here and I've got that goal. And, and so my goal is to help these people integrate. It's like, okay, let's take care of your body, but let's let it empower these other goals even more. You don't have to trade off. You don't have to say, oh, I'm going to spend hours in the gym, so I can't do my meditation anymore, or I can't work on my business as much anymore because I'm spending all this time in the gym. And so I can't really spend time in the gym and prioritize these things. And it is absolutely not true. You can completely integrate them. And again, what we like to tell people, it's like, it doesn't take that much time. If you really make up your mind and change your identity into that, these lifestyles are part of who I am. It's the time investment is not that big of a deal. It is not at all. And you can really have a really good body without spending a lot of time in the gym, especially the parts of it that are the intense parts that people shy away from, the heavier lifting and the more intense cardiovascular sessions. Those can be very short and only a little bit of time out of your week. The rest of your fitness stuff is just general movement. And if you add movement into your life, and then you can integrate that in so many ways, in so many time efficient ways, that additional movement shouldn't hurt much at all.
Yeah, so you can really have it all if you had like
Yeah.
very clever approach. And you're also like a very good example of this because you're like in a very good shape and you also, have the job and family life and everything. And you still have time to travel, to see the world, to connect with your own community all over the world. So you're like this prime example that, okay, even like, 50 plus, you can still be like
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
There are no
exactly. And that's,
excuses.
try, I try to be that example. Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, consistency is a major thing. So I know that somebody's not going to turn into having a body like mine instantly just by doing the same things I do, but it will come, you will go in that direction. And I'm not losing what I've had because I work out seriously. My intense workouts are less than an hour a week in terms of my weightlifting and whatever dedicated cardiovascular fitness stuff I do, less than an hour a week I spend at it. Which people just don't believe it because I got a decent body, especially for my age. And so people don't understand that that's very possible. That's all you need to put in. And the rest of it, I mean, I play sports and things like that. So I get the extra activity. And so, but it is absolutely true that you do not need all that extra time in the gym. And there's people who spend a lot of time in the gym who don't get those results because they really don't know what they're doing. That's where a good coach comes in. It's like, here's where you really get the most out of your work. And here's how you do it the best way to get the most out of each repetition in each set. And
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely true. And even like coaches need coaches. So I have my own fitness coach. At some point, they didn't have like anybody for 1 year. And for almost a year now, I've been having like a new coach who's like high performance. And he's really making me lift hard. I'm not
Ah,
like in my leanest physique, but I'm
ah,
in my strongest version of me. And when I was
right.
doing it for myself, I was actually even doing too much. And when we
Yeah.
first met like a year ago, and I showed him what I've been doing, he was calculating, okay, for quad muscles, you're doing so many repetitions. For
Ah,
hamstrings, you're doing so many. I was like, oh my God, this is so much volume. And he
yeah.
changed. He made me
Yeah.
like even do like less exercises. Yeah, my
Yeah.
training is still like 1 hour, but it's less volume than I was doing before. I've also done the 10x version when I was just working out 15 minutes or 10 minutes. But I actually like to
Mhm.
be in the gym for a longer time. So that's why I'm doing a little bit more volume. But
Yeah.
actually, yeah, the heavy lifting is needed. So now I'm also lifting super heavy stuff. I just got like new hip thrust record this week. I moved 200 kilos. I'm like, yes, finally. And it also feels so exciting to move that heavy stuff. And I guess it's usually women who are like, oh my God, if I lift something heavy, I'm going to get bulky. I'm going to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1 day. Like, I don't want to have
Yeah.
that. But
No, yeah.
it's not so easy to build up the body up, and
No.
people should be lifting more heavy stuff and doing like more intense workouts, less repetitions. And that's how they get
Right.
this lean toned body, the nice glutes and all that people
Yeah.
actually want.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it's fine because I mean, the things that motivate you and feel good in the gym, to me, I've completely given up trying to move heavyweight. I don't care. I'm all about muscle stimulus. And so
Mhm.
I work through that full range of motion and really work that length, the stretch, the lengthened muscle as much as I can. I'll work partials through that range and really go. And I get such a good stimulus without using that much weight at all. The other day, I was so sore in my legs. And all I did was a little at home workout doing these one leg squats with just a little bit of weight and doing it with my back up on the couch and just, going deep with and I was so sore for 2 days. It's like, I really know what I'm doing. So, it's like, it's funny because in the past, I was like, okay, at home workouts, they don't really, and it's not as easy to get the stimulation when you're at home, especially, you really do need to know what you're doing well to get really good stimulation with body weight things and things like that for most exercises. But yeah, the gym makes it a lot easier, those exercises and whatnot. But again, yeah, I don't care about personal records in terms of weight
Mm.
because I don't want to sacrifice my form. I don't want to risk. joint injury anymore or anything like that. So I'm like, I'm all about the premium muscle stimulus and, with the sets that I do. Yeah.
Yeah, there are many different approaches. And I guess it's mostly about this mind muscle connection.
Yes. That's a huge part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, to know what muscles you're working and really to say, okay, I'm putting it through this range of motion and I'm really stretching it here and really putting it through stress. And not only does it help you perform the exercise correctly, but that mind body connection that is more than, the mechanisms for which we're not quite sure of yet. There could be some quantum connections, some kind of, there's so much evidence that our mind controls our body. And even in a physical, physiological ways, they've done thought experiments and, mental practice, people who practice a skill mentally do as well as those who've practiced it physically in terms of their improvements. They've even had measurable strength increases with mental practice.
Mm.
There's this finger strength tests because they can be really precise in their measurements of the finger strength. And they had these people doing these exercises physically, then they had them doing it mentally. And there was measurable increase in strength from it. So that what mechanism, how that happens exactly, you're triggering muscle, stimulus, muscle growth stimulus in some way with your mind. And it translates into a physiological process in some way. But again, that while you're working out, having that mind body connection can only enhance your results and in terms of the muscle stimulus and how you, same thing can happen with recovery and building back and healing as well. So
So it's a lot about the mindset of working on your thoughts as well, working on a mental
yes,
side and also
yeah,
emotions. Because I also feel that if there's like some kind of negative emotion, this can really take you down, not only emotionally, mentally, but also body wise. Because it can also make you like eat all the crap that you're not supposed to eat, for example.
yes, and move less and
Yeah.
all that can, yeah, it's a spiral of negativity. Once you get in a negative mindset, you move less, you're less motivated, so you'll eat more poorly, then that gets into feeling worse, and it just is a negative spiral. Whereas on the other side of things, positive spiral, if you're taking steps in the right direction, it motivates you to do the other things right. It makes you feel better. So your body chemistry's in a better place. You have more energy and you're able to do more. And it's that positive spiral we try to get people triggered to going in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also know that you are part of this group of people with whom you have this Turkish community. Maybe tell me a little bit more about this. I feel that you're kind of focused on longevity and having like this health span and
Yeah.
living a healthier life for a longer
Yes.
time.
That is my focus for my coaching. And so my business is called Sync Fitness and Wellness. I try to bring people in sync with their mind, body, and their spirit. So that's why my company is called Sync. I'm also in a collective of coaches that you mentioned is called the Turquoise Consciousness Collective,
Mhm.
which is a hint toward turquoise state of being, which is there's a theory of sort of applying colors to your energy levels, and turquoise is the high level of energy. And the other part of it was if you've studied the blue zones in
Yeah,
in
I
the
just
world
wanted to
where
say that okay, it must be connected
people
to zone.
consistently live to 100 plus in a healthy way and in different areas of the world, and they've studied them and studied their lifestyles, and those are called the blue zones.
Mhm.
So one of my fellow coaches came up with turquoise zone as something we could create that didn't necessarily have a geological location, but was a community of people
It's
who
global.
try to live their lives in a way to live in it with that health and longevity. And it becomes then a community of this turquoise community. So our group of coaches is the Turquoise Consciousness Collective, and it's not just about fitness or diet or the body health coaches, but many of our coaches are into life coaching and different modalities such as hypnotherapy or family constellations or neuromuscular facilitation, kind of just different things, different modalities with these different coaches. And they're all wonderful people that we've developed when we're developing some products together to offer to people, which is pretty exciting. We're sort of just getting some of these things started, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, and people get to live longer, healthier lives. And that's, of course, that's a beautiful goal to have longer,
Yeah.
healthier lives, not just longer lives, but healthier ones as well.
Yeah. It's more life to experience. And that's really the whole goal, right? And a better experience of life. So you get to have a higher level of experience for longer. So the
Mm.
whole volume of life you get to live is just that much more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm.
So where can people find you if they're like attracted to your energy and they want to like learn more? Where are you located in the online
Okay.
space?
My online space, my company is called Sync, but my handle is basically Sync Fit, CR, SYNCFIT, and CR is my initials. So syncfitcr.com is my website, but I'm also on Facebook as Corey Repp, and my company is Sync Fitness and Wellness. And I'm on Instagram as SyncFitCR as well.
Yeah, I can also put all the links in the show notes as the
Yeah.
description so people can just
And,
find and click
and
them.
and our Turquoise Consciousness Collective is we have a community on Kajabi that is free, and we do have ways to sign up through that. The website for that one is, I think, tcczone.com. Uh, and that's something that, again, you can put in the show notes.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
will put it in there so people can just connect. And yeah, what kind of people are you calling in right now? What kind of people do you want to attract? Growth mindset?
Yes, people that are just open minded people with a growth mindset who just want to better themselves and get more out of life. And that's really what I want to help people get more out of your life, step toward your highest self, and integrate your body into that path.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
this, Corey. Thank you for opening up a little bit of your world and how it
Yeah.
feels like to be on the other side of the ocean.
Yes. Yes. I'm really glad we got to talk today, Celia. It's been great.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.